Lord is good. His unfailing love continues forever, and his faithfulness continues to each generation. Psalms 105. The Lord is good. His unfailing love continues forever, and his faithfulness continues to each generation. Psalms 105.
Deliverance from my enemies. thank you so much for always being there for us. Just God, you're just so powerful, and you love us more than we could ever imagine. And that is just so incredible, because we don't deserve any of your love, but you love us anyway. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right, 7th grade boys. The new 7th grade boys are going to go with Mr. Jonathan West back here. 6th grade boys are going to go with James Ash. He's back there. There he is. 6th grade boys are back there with James. He's got his hand in the air. Junior high girls, you got Meredith over there. And then 6th grade girls are going with Christina right over there, and Morgan. Head downstairs. Senior high, if you need to, grab a worship guide. Find a seat.
And welcome to the Generic Transition video. My name, not important for 2 reasons. Number 1, I'm not going to be up here long enough for you to care what my name is. And number 2, that's not the point of this video. What is the point of this video? Well, it's simple. You see, the only reason this video exists is so that we can transition from one part of the service or event to the next, seamlessly. Honestly, that's it. This video serves no other purpose. Still don't believe me? Watch this. Here's a stock video of a family I've never met, but I'm sure they're important in some way. And here's the picture of the man who invented the lava lamp. Does this have anything to do with anything? Nope. And that's the beauty of it. I mean, surely there's going to be some type of lesson or information given to us during the duration of this video that will somehow impact our lives in a positive way. Sorry to disappoint. You see, it's really... Oh, we're good? We're good. Oh, well, looks like I've wasted enough time. Back to the good stuff. I'll see you at the next transition.
How's it going, everybody?
Good.
Wow, very good. The one person in the room who has wisdom teeth pulled on Monday and has a swollen face so bad that he can hardly talk is the only one that answered and said, good. But shame on the rest of you able-bodied people. Good night. Former 8th graders, does it feel weird to be up here now during this time? Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It's different. Change. Everybody hates change. It's natural. It's a natural thing. Well, so no secret about me. Everybody knows that I love Star Wars, right? It's one of my favorite things ever. And it used to not be as cool as it is now. Like, that's one of the things that has changed dramatically from the time that I was your age to now, is that it's super cool to like Star Wars. It wasn't back then. Like, I got made fun of and picked on for liking Star Wars when I was your age. But now you almost get made fun of and picked on for not liking Star Wars. It's really, really weird. And everybody knows it. It's super mainstream now. It gets quoted all the time by everybody. I mean, mainstream movies, mainstream TV, everybody quotes Star Wars. And there's a lot of popular lines from the movie, right? Like, what is the most popular line from Star Wars? Everybody knows it, and it is... No, it's a different one. Luke, I am your father. That's right. Which is actually wrong. It's wrong. See, he doesn't say, Luke, I am your father. He says, no, I am your father. Luke is hanging off of the thing over the giant chasm, and Darth Vader is just about to cut his hand off, and he says, Obi-Wan never told you about your father. And Luke says, he told me you killed him. And Darth Vader says, no, I am your father. And he goes, no! Great part of the movie. She did. She got it. She nailed it. One of the greatest performances ever by Mark Hamill. There's another popular line from the movies that people like to quote a lot. It's from Yoda, and he says, do or do not. There is no try. I hear that one all the time. And couples, especially that love Star Wars, like to quote Han Solo and Princess Leia. When Leia tells Han that she loves him, she says, I love you, and he just goes, I know. Particularly couples that love Star Wars use that one a lot. But there is a line more famous than that, and probably more famous than May the Force be with you in Star Wars, that gets really overlooked, I think, by most of people in the mainstream. And it is the line, I got a bad feeling about this. That line is in every single Star Wars movie. It is in every single Star Wars show. It is in every single Star Wars cartoon. If it has the name Star Wars on it, whether it's live action or animated, in that show it's going to say, I got a bad feeling about this. It appears for the first time in the very first movie that they ever made, not episode 1, I'm talking about episode 4, A New Hope, where they're flying towards the Death Star. Luke is standing in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, and he says, I have a very bad feeling about this. It becomes really popular from Han Solo, though, when he says it while they're in the trash compactor. The rest of the stormtroopers are trying to rescue Princess Leia. They get trapped in the trash compactor, and he says, I got a bad feeling about this. Obi-Wan says it to Qui-Gon Jinn in episode 1 in the first few minutes of the movie, and it is said every time after that, in every movie and every TV show. As a matter of fact, the only one that it's not caught in is The Last Jedi, and that's because it's not said in what they call standard galactic English. It's actually said by BB-8. He says it in that movie. He says, I got a bad feeling about this in his own voice, right? But it's the most popular line of the entire franchise. It's literally said over and over all the time. And I think that just like Star Wars, a lot of us repeat that phrase over and over in our heads on a daily basis. I got a bad feeling about this. For some of us, it's right before a test. Right before we have to take a test. Those are over for the summer, thank the Lord, right? For some of us, I mean, unless you're homeschooled, then sorry, Charlie. Well, then, stinks to stink. For some of us, it's when we hear our mom shout our full name from across the house, right? I got a bad feeling about this. Some of us, it's before we have to drive on the interstate. Not a fan of that. For some of us, it's where we have to talk in front of people, right? For some of us, it's just when we wake up in the morning and we open our eyes. I am that last person. That is me. I'm that last person. I have severe anxiety. My wife can tell you stories about how crippling anxiety is for me. Like, I struggle with it on a daily basis. I have to take medicine for it. It is so bad. I have one pill that helps me deal with it on an everyday basis, and I have another pill that I take only when I have so much anxiety. It's like I didn't even take the first pill. So yes, I'm heavily medicated for anxiety. I get scared. I get anxiety when I'm sitting in my office writing my messages. I get anxiety when I have to meet new parents or new students. I get anxiety when I'm watching my girls eat their food for lunch or dinner. I have anxiety all the time. I know a lot about it, and I think some of you know a lot about it. You just don't know it. I think as we go through what we're going to talk about tonight, you're going to realize, like, I deal with those thoughts. I deal with those feelings on a daily basis. Because anxiety is one of the top mental health issues among people your age, among teenagers. It was kind of big before the pandemic, but when the pandemic hit, it skyrocketed. And now that we've come out of the pandemic, everyone is afraid of everything. Everyone has anxiety about everything. And social media just continues to add to that. Not only that, just the pressures of your normal everyday life. The pressures that your parents put on you, the pressures that you put on yourself, the pressures that you face doing your teams and cheerleading and band and drama and all this other kind of stuff that you have going on in your daily life. All that adds stress and anxiety. And so it's like you have this constant running tape of a voice in your head telling you, I've got a bad feeling about this. And tonight we're going to learn how to deal with that. Tonight we're going to learn how to make that little voice go away. We're going to learn how to make it be quiet. Tonight is all about how to quiet anxiety. That's your first blank. How to quiet anxiety. Because that's how anxiety works. Anxiety is all based off of fear. Anxiety stems from fear. And listen, a little bit of fear is good. We tell Timmy that all the time when she's afraid to do something. Hey, that's good. A little bit of fear is good. Like when she gets ready to do a flip or something and she's nervous about it, we're like, that's good. That is your body's natural response to, this could possibly hurt me, okay? That's your brain going, we should probably practice a little bit more, think about this a little bit harder before we do this, because this could result in bodily harm, right? A little bit of anxiety is good, especially when we're about to do something like lie or break the rules or break the law. That's your brain's natural response to doing something that could end badly for you, right? So a little bit of anxiety is a good natural thing. It's a way for your body to protect itself from something that might hurt you or might not end well for you, right? But people who deal with anxiety like I do, their brain tries to protect them from things that could hurt them or end badly for them that don't even exist. So for instance, I told you that even just watching my girls eat their lunch or their dinner is kind of anxiety inducing for me. And that's because, say a normal person goes, today for lunch you were having hot dogs. Okay? Hot dog is the number one food that children choke on. Okay? It is. It's a statistical fact. Hot dogs are the number one food that children choke on. So you have to be, especially when giving children hot dogs, have to be very, very careful with it. And so a normal person goes, I know this. Hot dogs can choke people. Here's what I have to do. I have to cut it a certain way. I have to slice it up real nice and real fine so that they can eat it and not choke on it. And then I just got to pay extra special attention to them while they're eating so that if anything happens, I can be there to deal with it, right? That's what a normal person does. A person like me, however, goes, if they put that hot dog in their mouth, they're going to die. If they take a bite of that hot dog, even though I cut it up, the pieces are going to magically form back together to form a solid block. And when they try and swallow it, it's going to get crammed in their throat, and then their eyes are going to pop out of their head, and they're going to turn blue, and I'm going to freak out and not know what to do about it, and they're going to die. That's how my brain works. I know this about myself. Okay? We just got a new play set for our girls. I built it. I set it up in the backyard. And a normal person takes their kid to the park and gets some play set, goes, you know, they're probably going to want to go down the slide backwards or upside down. And that could probably hurt them. So what I need to do is go, hey, don't go down the slide backwards or upside down, because that could probably hurt you. Let's wait and hold off on that. I, however, go, if they go down the slide backwards or upside down, they're going to hit the end of it. They're going to come off. They're going to break their neck, and they're going to die. And so while a normal person manages that anxiety and manages that fear and goes, here's what I need to do in the midst of it, a person like me with an anxiety goes, we're just not even going to venture into that realm. We're going to remove all possibility of that happening. And so we don't let them eat those foods, or we don't let them play on those things. And so now not only is it crippling for me, but it's also crippling for other people. That's how my anxiety works. It's all fear-based, and it comes from three main fears. Fear of no control, fear of bad outcomes, or fear of inability. I can't do this. I can't deal with this, right? That's where anxiety stems from. But the Bible, for those of us who are struggling with this, whether it's all the time or in a specific area of our life, the Bible gives us one tool to deal with all three of those categories. And that is to remember. That's your next blank. We quiet anxiety by remembering. We quiet anxiety by remembering. "352 times the Bible tells us to remember. And each time it uses that word, it's calling us to be mindful of a tradition. Be aware of a tradition, something that we know has happened before that will happen again, right? So like all of you go over to get your family together for holidays like Christmas and stuff like that, and I promise you, if I were to ask you, what do you do for Christmas? You can tell me down to the minute everything that's going to happen with your family when you get together for a holiday gathering, right? Like, you know, we're going to walk in the door, we're going to eat, we're going to open presents, what's-his-face is going to cry because they didn't get what they wanted, grandma's going to be upset because nobody ate all of the casserole. Like, you can tell me down to the minute because it has happened before. That is your family tradition. This is how things go. And when the Bible calls us to remember, it's telling us to remember those things about God. It's calling us to remember specific patterns and ways of God that He has shown us are consistent with Him. It's calling us to remember who He is and what He is capable of. It's calling us to remember truth about Him. And tonight we're going to look at 3 of those truths about Him. we're going to look at 3 things that we have to remember about God if we want to make anxiety be quiet. Those 3 things are remembering that He is in control, remembering that He has a plan, and remembering that He is with us. Remembering that He is with us, okay? You're going to be able to write all that down later if you missed it, because we're going to go through it one by one. But this is how we make anxiety be quiet. Remember, He is in control, that He has a plan, and He is with us. Let's talk about the first thing. Remembering that He is in control. I'm kind of a late bloomer when it comes to things that most people would consider a normal experience in life. For instance, and when I say this, it will shock you to your core. Some of you may even grow angry with me. This is an unbelievable fact about myself, okay? But here's what I want you to do. Just be quiet. Just let your jaw hit the floor. Please don't say anything. I have dealt with enough backlash with this my entire life, so just... But I had never tried chips and salsa at a Mexican restaurant until I was 20 years old. Yeah, that face. That's what I'm talking about. That one right there. You should have seen Meredith. It was like her jaw fell off of her face and onto the floor. I never had chips and salsa until I was 20 years old. I didn't try queso until 2 years ago, so... It's my favorite thing. I know, okay? Look, I just was not at the time interested in eating a tomato that somebody looked like they had punched with their fist and put in a cup. I just was not. That didn't appetize me at all, okay? I was wrong. I love chips and salsa. I love queso. I tried it a couple years ago, and I was like, I don't know why I've been doing this to myself this whole time. This is great. It's one of the best things ever, okay? But even then, like... Talk about family vacations. I grew up really, really poor. My family never took vacations. We took one that I can remember. We went to Magic Springs. We went from Texarkana to Magic Springs. We did a weekend there, and I thought that was the greatest thing ever. That was the only vacation that we ever took. I didn't really start to do vacations until Kristen and I got married, so I never saw the beach or the ocean until I was 24. She has video of me running like a 5-year-old through the sand to just put my toes in the water. Because I'd never done that before. I'd never flown on an airplane until I was almost 30, right?
I still have it.
Some people have it, but in my group of friends and the people that I know, they had at least done that one time. And so I was the oddball out. And you think that somebody like me who enjoys riding roller coasters and going to theme parks would have at least wanted to ride an airplane, but it was the most anxiety-inducing thing I've ever done in my entire life. I was terrified. The moment we went through the gate to get on the plane, my brain started going, I got a bad feeling about this. I got a bad feeling about this. I got a bad feeling about this. And all I could do was picture the opening scene of Final Destination, the very first movie, when they get on the airplane, have the thing in the bathroom, the plane explodes. That's what's going through my brain. And so I'm gripping the seat, shaking, dealing with sweat. And then halfway through the flight, I had a thought that crossed my mind that made me relax. I know that the Lord gave it to me because He loves me. But it was just this thought that, look, this happens every day. Planes fly across the country every single day. Hundreds of planes. And they carry lots of things. They carry people, they carry packages all over the place. And they do it several times. Like the pilots at the front of the plane, the plane that I'm on is like their second trip. And they got like 3 more before their day is done. That's how it works. And they're not brand new pilots. They've been doing this for years. The guy that we talked to in our very first flight had done it for like 2 decades. I was like, they know what they're doing. They've got it handled. This isn't new. It's not a surprise to them. They are in control. And that's what I'm talking about. We have to remember that God is in control. We live in one of the scariest times I can ever remember. It seems like everywhere you look is something scary. Just a short scroll through social media or letting the TV stop on a news channel for 5 seconds and you're seeing something that is going to scare you to death. In the past month, we've talked about tons of UFOs that have been leaked. North Korea has decided to start testing long-range missiles. The war in Ukraine is still going on. We're dealing with artificial intelligence, which, by the way, we know how this ends. Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. We know where this is going. Why even start? I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm just saying. Of course, we have the upcoming election that's freaking everybody out, and now Canada has decided to flood our entire country with poison. It's not their fault. They have a forest fire going on, but still. There's lots of stuff going on. Not to mention all of the hundreds of podcasts that we have of people that like to talk about conspiracy theories and what famous person is connected to what scandal and what weird thing that's going on behind the scenes that we don't know about, and all these scary predictions about what's going to happen. It is a scary time. We're bombarded with things all of the time that scare us. There is no trust anymore, and there is no truth. And in the midst of all of that, it is easy to feel like things are out of control. When things happen in your life that are unexpected and that are a big deal, it can be easy to feel like things are out of control. But we have to remember that that's not true. Psalm 115 says, "Not to us, O Lord, not to us, but to your name goes all the glory for your unfailing love and faithfulness. Why let the nations say, where is their God? Our God is in the heavens, and he does as he wishes." Their idols are merely things of silver and gold shaped by human hands. They have mouths but cannot speak. They have eyes but cannot see. They have ears but cannot hear. Noses but cannot smell. They have hands but cannot feel. And feet but cannot walk. And throats but cannot make a sound. And those who make idols are just like them, meaning they are powerless. Powerless. O Israel, trust the Lord. He is your helper and your shield. I love the way it starts. Not to us, but to your name be the glory. Meaning, we're not in control, God. You are, and we praise you for that. We don't have any power, God, but you have all of it, and we praise you for that. The line where it says, why do the nations ask, where is their God? It's talking about people who are prideful, these leaders who are prideful, these people who are prideful because they're like, who's going to stop me from doing what I want to do? Where is their God? I have money, so I'm powerful. I have power, so I am powerful. I have weapons and armies, so I'm powerful. I can do whatever I want. Who is going to stop me? The answer is God, because he is in control. Proverbs 16:9 says that we can make our plans, but the Lord determines our steps. That's what Jesus is trying to show us through all of his miracles. He is in control. When he turns water into wine, it's showing us he's in control of creation. When he heals the blind and the paralyzed, he's showing us that he is in control of the body. When he heals sickness, he's showing us that he is in control of disease. When he walks on water and curses the fig tree, he's showing us that he is in control of nature. When he casts out demons, he's showing that he is in control of dark forces. When he tells us to pay taxes to Caesar, he's saying, I am in control of government. When he rises from the dead, he's saying, I am in control of death. God is in control of everything. And if we want to make anxiety be quiet, we have to remember that. When things in our life and things in the world seem out of control, we have to remember that God is in control. But not only that he has a plan. That's your next blank. God has a plan. Here's where I'm about to be real sad. Again, you don't have to talk, anything like that. Just raise your hand. Anybody seen The Sandlot, the movie The Sandlot? More than the junior high kids, but not everybody. For those of you that haven't seen it, what are you doing? You're so wrong. It's like one of the greatest movies ever made. It is a classic. It is a classic. If you don't know what The Sandlot is about, The Sandlot is about a group of kids who play baseball all summer and hang out. And that's just what the movie is about. Here are the things that they get into. One of the things being trying to get a prized baseball signed by Babe Ruth back from a real scary man and a real scary dog, right? One of the things that happens to them, though, is while they're playing baseball one day, one of the kids hits a home run into the backyard of that scary man with the scary dog, and they get really upset because now their game is over. They're too afraid to go in the backyard and try and get the baseball back from the dog, and so now their whole day is ruined. The game is over, and so somebody's like, well, look, why don't we just save the day and go to the local pool? Like, that sounds like a great idea. And so that's what they do. They go to the local pool, and when they get there, they see the lifeguard, Wendy Peppercorn. And Wendy Peppercorn is a really good-looking lifeguard. So people don't just come to swim, but they come to look at her as well. And that's what they're doing when it shows them at the swimming pool. They're all lined up. They're looking at Wendy Peppercorn. And one of the characters, Squints, decides that he can't take it anymore. He's tired of looking at her. He's tired of being so far away from her. And so he gets up out of the shallow end. He walks around to the deep end. He gets on the diving board, and he jumps in. But he can't swim. And so he sinks all the way to the bottom. And of course his friends freak out. They know that he can't swim, and so they run over there and they're like, oh my gosh, what is happening? What is going on? And Wendy Peppercorn sees him, and she dives to the bottom, and she grabs him and pulls him out onto the side of the pool and begins to give him CPR and mouth to mouth. And they're standing over him, they're freaking out. They don't know what's going to happen. Is he dead? And what's going on? And then in the middle of it, he opens his eyes and he winks at them. And then he goes back to playing dead. And when she comes to give him mouth to mouth again, he grabs her and he kisses her. She's not a huge fan of this, and so she freaks out and ends up throwing them out of the pool, not just for the day, but for the rest of the summer. And on their way out, one of the other boys asks him, did you plan that? And he says, I've been planning it for years. And then in the movie, you find out that he ends up marrying Wendy Peppercorn. But it was real scary for those boys, not knowing what was going on. And it turned into the greatest thing they'd ever seen when they found out that Squints had a plan. Listen, we have to remember that God has a plan. Being a Christian doesn't mean that things automatically go smoothly for us. Okay? It doesn't mean that things are automatically better. As a matter of fact, the Bible tells us the opposite of that. It says that being a Christian means that we will suffer, that we will go through hard things, right? And that's scary. We don't like experiencing pain. We don't like experiencing loss. We don't like experiencing death. We don't like things falling apart. We don't like things taking longer than we want or things getting in the way of what we want to accomplish. But sometimes that is part of God's plan. We have to remember that. We have to remember, no matter what we're going through, that God has a plan. And that plan is good. Plan is for our good. Romans 8:28 says, and we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. Isaiah 14:24, the Lord of heaven's armies has sworn this oath. It will happen as I have planned it. It will be as I have decided. Psalm 33:11, but the Lord's plans stand firm forever. His intentions can never be shaken. And Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. God's plans are always for your good. And if you want to make anxiety be quiet, you have to remember that. It may not be going your way, but it is going God's way. Last thing. We have to remember that he is with us. Remember, he is with us. That's your last blank. Or one of your last blanks. One of the coolest parts about being a student ministries pastor is I get paid to hang out with teenagers, which is a lot of fun because I am a perpetual teenager. But it used to be I could go to schools during lunch and hang out with you guys and, get to know you and build relationships with your friends and all that kind of stuff. And then COVID happened and I wasn't able to do that anymore. And then coming out of COVID, the schools got really weird about who they let on campuses. And now they just decided they don't want people there that don't necessarily need to be there. And that includes me. And so I've had to find a different way to do it. And that's by doing FCA, which is Fellowship for Christian Athletes. So I do the Benton football team. I'm one of their huddle leaders, and so I go every Thursday to Benton High School. I get to see some of you. I get to see Evan and Woody when they run track, and I get to see Megan when she's doing soccer. Well, not anymore. That's a sad day. But I'll see Steven. He's fine. And I get to hang out with them during their practices, and then afterwards I do a Bible study with them, right? So that's what I do. And I remember when I first got started doing it, it's because a guy named Kason Meritons asked me to do it. He's the FCA rep for this area, and he was on the football team when he was in high school here at Benton. And so the first day I went with him, he knew everybody, right? Like he knew all the coaches, he knew all the players, and I had this huge amount of confidence being with him. I felt like as long as I was with him, we could do whatever we wanted to do. We knew everybody, like it was just great being there with him. And I did that for 3 weeks. And finally, the 4th week, Kason wasn't able to be there, and so I had to go do it by myself, and that was super intimidating. It filled me with a lot of anxiety. Like I said, doing things like that on my own kind of fills me with anxiety because I don't know the coaches like he knows the coaches. I don't know the players like he knew the players, and I just felt like if he wasn't with me, I wasn't going to be able to do what I needed to do to get through that. I felt like I was incapable of accomplishing that task. And anxiety can make us feel like that a lot of times in our life. Like whenever we're dealing with the hard things that we've been talking about, we feel incapable of dealing with them. I don't have the strength to get through this. I don't have the wisdom to know what to do. I don't know if I can handle this. I don't know if I can do what you were asking me to do. I don't have the courage. I don't have the bravery. But what we have to remember is that look, we're not alone. God is with us. And if he is with us, we can do what he asks of us. In Exodus chapter 4, that's what God's telling to Moses. He's got Moses standing in front of him, and he's wanting him to go to Pharaoh, the most powerful man in charge at the time. He's got a bunch of the Israelites. He has the whole nation as his slaves in Egypt. And God says, I want you to go to Pharaoh and tell him to let him go. And Moses says, there's no way. There's no way. I'm a nobody. I'm a nobody. They're not going to listen to me. Not only that, I fled from there. I committed murder. They don't even want to see me back there. And on top of all that, I have a stutter. So I can't even talk well enough to deliver the message that you want me to deliver. This is what God says to him in Exodus chapter 4, verse 11. He says, Then the Lord asked Moses, Who makes a person's mouth? Who decides whether people speak or do not speak? Hear or do not hear? See or do not see? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go. I'll be with you as you speak, and I will instruct you in what to say. So Moses is standing before God, and he's going, I can't do this. I cannot do this. I don't have the strength. I don't have the wisdom. I don't have the courage. I can't even talk well. And God goes, you don't have to worry about any of that. I'm going to give you what you need to do this, and I will be with you as you do it. Later on, Moses dies. The Israelites are free from Egypt. Moses did what God asked him to do, but he dies. And now God wants him to go into the promised land, and he's established a new leader. His name is Joshua. Joshua's going to take over for Moses, and that's a big task. Moses walked with God. He saw God face to face, and he led the entire nation of Israel that is now numbering in the millions. And not only that, but when they go into the promised land, they have to clear it of all the people that live there. You're going to wage a war as judgment on the sinful people that live in this place. And Joshua, you're in charge of all that. That's a daunting task. It's a scary task. And Joshua says that to God, and God says, look, this is my command, Joshua 1:9. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Joshua was afraid because of the task in front of him. He's going, look, I can't do this. I'm not brave enough. I don't have the wisdom to lead all of these people. I can't do this. And God goes, you don't have to be afraid. I'm going to give you what you need to do this, and I'll be with you while you do it. In Matthew, when Jesus is going to go back into heaven, he's died on the cross, he's risen again, and he's about to turn over spreading the gospel to his disciples. And he tells them, look, it's not going to be easy. He's told them before, I'm sending you out as sheep to the slaughter. They have a big responsibility. They are leading people back to God. People who believe in lots of other things. People who don't like them particularly and definitely don't want to believe in what it is they believe. And they just watched the guy who taught all of it to them be murdered on a cross. And then they have to remember everything that he has taught them and share that with other people. But Jesus says this. Jesus came and told his disciples, I've been given all authority in heaven and on earth. Therefore, go and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I have given you, and be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. All the disciples are going, I can't do this. I don't have the wisdom to do this. I don't have the strength to do this. I don't have the courage to do this. And Jesus goes, I'll give you what you need to do this. And I'll be with you while you do it. We have to remember that if we want to make anxiety be quiet. We have to know that we are not alone, and that God will give us what we need, especially himself. He is always there. We have to remember that. We have to remember all of these things, and if we do, we will have nothing to fear. That's what all this means for you. If anxiety is built on fear, then the way that we overcome it is we silence it with the truth. When anxiety lies to us and says that something bad is going to happen, we say, no, it's not. God is in control. When anxiety lies to us and says, this isn't going to go well, we say, no, that's not true. God has a plan. When anxiety lies to us and says, you can't do this, and you're alone, we say, no, He's with me and He'll give me what I need for it. As long as we remember that, if we believe that, if we trust that, if we walk in that, we don't have anything to fear. We just have to remember to let the truth speak louder than anxiety. That's your last blank. Let the truth speak louder than anxiety. Here's the truth that I want to speak to you tonight. Paul asks us in the Bible, in one of his letters, he said, if God is for us, who can be against us? And I don't know what you feel like you have against you right now. I don't know what's giving you anxiety in your life. I don't know what's out of control or what you feel is going the wrong way or what makes you feel like you're on your own and you're incapable of getting through it. But the truth is that that's not true. And that you can be free of the things that are making you feel that way. All you have to do is come to Jesus. For some of you, it may be the choices that you're making in your life right now. Maybe the sinful choices that you're making. You're doing things your own way, and it's causing things to get out of control. It's causing your plan to get off track. It's causing you to feel alone and isolated, but it's not supposed to be that way. Jesus gave His life to free you from that. If you want freedom from that, all you have to do is have a relationship with Him. If that's what you want, you can do that tonight. Here in a minute, when we dismiss, you can find me, you can find your adult. I say it every week. You don't leave if you need a relationship with Jesus. Find the freedom that He wants you to have in His truth. If you are a believer, and set that truth before you every single day. When you feel God telling you, hey, I want you to go talk to that person about your faith, and then you get overwhelmed with anxiety, oh, I can't. When you feel God calling you to step out in faith and do that thing that He's been asking you to do for so long, you say, I can't do that. That's going to end badly. It'll get out of control. I can't handle that. You have to remember, no, He's in control. He has a plan. When things happen in your life that are unexpected, when you feel overwhelmed, put that truth in front of you. Hey, God is in control. He has a plan, and He is with you. And then walk in that. Find strength in that. Find hope in that. Find joy in that. Let the truth speak louder than whatever lie anxiety is telling you. Let's pray. God, I love you and I thank you for these students. I thank you that you care enough about us to help us deal with the everyday fears that we face in our life. I pray that we would trust you, that we would remember you're in control, that you have a plan, and that you are with us. I pray that those in here who need freedom from the things that cause them fear would get it tonight before they leave. I pray that you would let us walk more faithfully with you throughout every day. God, I love you. I thank you.